Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is my brother's 2000 Toyota Tundra. And today, I'm going to give you guys the 3-year update on the truck. Now, the last time I featured this Tundra on the channel, my brother was having quite a lot of mechanical issues with it, and it ended up costing around $6,000 to repair those issues. And so I secretly started a GoFundMe page, and you guys unbelievably generously donated over $2,300 to help alleviate that cost for my brother. We are incredibly grateful. Never underestimate the kindness of strangers. But repair the truck we did, and now I'm going to tell you guys everything that was fixed on the truck and how it's been running for the last year. So let me tell you guys the abridged version of the story of my brother's truck. So originally he bought this in 2020 for $4,700. Yes, I know, $4,700. It was a crazy deal at the time. It was a huge blessing to get this truck for that price. It didn't have anything wrong with it at first. It was in really decent shape overall. The exterior had a tiny bit of rust, mainly on the back bumper, but we replaced that very inexpensively, and we haven't even replaced this front bumper because you can see there's a little bit there, but that's nothing to worry about. And we covered up some other small rust spots you can see right there and there. Overall, though, I'd like to think in the grand scheme of 2,000 Toyota Tundras that are still on the road, this one is probably still in the upper 15% or so. It's in really good shape, especially the interior. One of the things that attracted me to this truck when I found it online for my brother was that there was no tears in the seats, there was no rips in the dashboards, all the buttons are there. I mean, it really was kept in pretty good condition, and it stayed that way for the first 2 years or so of my brother using it. Him and I both landscaped, so he had lawnmowers in the back and weed whackers and all sorts of equipment, and this truck served him really well. The only major issue we had is fairly early on we had to replace the radiator in the truck because there was an issue with fluids mixing. Some of the tubes got mixed and melted together, and so we had to flush it and ended up having to replace it. But that was small potatoes in the grand scheme of things again. And so as my brother continued to use it, he graduated high school, he's preparing to go off to college, and he settles on a college in Texas. It seems to be a great fit for him. And we live in Pennsylvania. And so he said, I am gonna take the truck down to Texas. And so we all prayed over the truck. And we said, all right, God, let Tucker be able to get down to Texas with no issues on the truck. And then we had it tuned up a little bit and sent him off. And as he was on his way, he called me at one point and said, hey, I'm having an issue with the transmission slipping a little bit. It's still driving okay, but I can kind of tell the gears are upshifting and downshifting kind of weird. So again, we prayed and he made it to Texas. It's about 20 hours from where we are. And this was a big road trip, first big road trip this Tundra has ever taken with us. And as far as we know, maybe the biggest road trip it's ever taken. And it made it and immediately broke. So sometimes you really got to be specific in those prayers, and you can never say God doesn't have a sense of humor, because he answered our prayer to get my brother to Texas safely, but then it broke. So what ended up happening was a lot of stuff broke at the same time because it had been very heavy on the truck. 20 hours of nearly nonstop driving was really heavy on a truck. I mean, it can be heavy on any vehicle, especially a vehicle that's 23 years old. So there was quite a lot that he had to end up replacing on this. And the money that was required really needed to go to his next semester. And he had been saving for a long time. And so I started this GoFundMe without his knowledge, and you guys, like I said, raised $2,300. Incredible. We surprised him with it. He was so elated, so overjoyed. That took a big burden, a third of that money off of him, so that could still go to his schooling, which was awesome. And again, we thank you guys profusely if you were one of the people that donated to that. And he got everything replaced on the truck, and he's had it down in Texas for most of this year. And then he took a big risk. He drove it back up here. We were originally going to get the truck shipped up here, like a service was going to bring it up, but then they misquoted us, or they lied about the quote, and were going to end up charging us way, way more, like almost quadruple the price. And we said, no way. And my brother said, I'm just going to trust that the truck's going to make it. And he drove it from Texas, and it made it without an issue. It has been in awesome shape, and it has worked really well. Now, once you hear what was replaced, you'll be like, oh, that makes sense why it made it, because you replaced everything. There was a lot that needed to be replaced on this. So let's go through that now. Starting out with the radiator needed to be replaced again. Here, I'll come over here and I'll open up the hood really quick. And I'll show you guys. So oh boy, I hope this, yeah, I think this does come up, because I was gonna say, if this requires me to have two hands to lift this, I don't know if it's gonna lift. Oh, there we go. So, now pretty muddy in here. Radiator needed to be replaced again, along with all the tubing. Transmission needed to be entirely replaced on the truck. It has 205,000 miles on it right now. Engine is original, but the transmission is brand new. That slipping transmission was a major issue, so he got that replaced. Now that was everything underneath the hood, but underneath the actual truck, he needed an entirely new drive shaft, an entirely new rear differential, and axle. So you can see why that might cost $6,000 with labor and everything like that. All of those things were replaced, but truck runs really good now. Like, it genuinely runs quite well, and we have not had an issue with it since. Thank God. You never know what can go wrong on a 20-year-old truck, but you'd hope if you replace that many things, there wouldn't be many issues with it going forward, at least for a little while, you know? And so thankfully, nothing has gone wrong with this. I just detailed this truck for my brother. He's out of town right now, lent me the truck to give you guys the update. And I think it actually cleaned up pretty nice. Again, for a 23-year-old truck, there's definitely scratches in the paint. There's so much pollen in the air. There's definitely scratches in the paint, but it's not bad. Overall, this is still pretty clean, very minor rust. I did notice as I was cleaning it, this is starting to bubble right there. That would be the first like major rust the truck would have on the body. But the rest of it is in really good shape. And you can see we put a backup camera on there. It's the V8 with the four-wheel drive. So this is the top. This is the limited of the time. Didn't really come with many limited features, but that was what you got on the truck 23 years ago. It had the TRD off-road package. And as we come over here, you can see there's definitely some scratches and some dings on here. But it's an old truck, and it runs now. Like, it continues to work, and it continues to work well around the city for my brother. And we'll see how it continues to drive heading back into college and for the foreseeable future. You know, the truck is really fun to drive. I've driven it quite a bit, and my dad drives it around our property that we live on, and he likes to use it to, again, just move tools around, weed whacking and stuff. And it works great. I mean, it's a great truck, and it's held up really cool. Even though it's not my truck, it is my brother's truck. It's fun to be able to talk to other first-gen owners in the comment section below on my videos, and also in person, because it really is a special truck. This first-generation Tundra really was something really unique and special. And I can't believe they used to call it, or originally I should say, they were planning on calling it the Toyota T100. And Ford was like, you do that, we're gonna sue. And so they ended up calling it the Tundra, and I think the alliteration there is perfect. Toyota Tundra is a great defining name for this truck. So let's take a look at the interior and see how that's held up. Now, admittedly, I have not like vacuumed out in here, but you can see no scratches or tears on these seats. It's in really good condition overall. I'm gonna get in and close the door so it's not beeping. I just did a light one over on the dash here really quick, but look at this. I mean, it's in great condition. It's just held up super well. Cranking it up. Sounds awesome. You can see, let's see if we can get in close there. Ugh, 205,349 miles on this thing. Again, that is nothing for a Toyota Tundra. But yeah, it's really cool in here. We put an infotainment system. I put a touchscreen infotainment system in for my brother, so that ties into his backup camera. Just has Bluetooth, doesn't have CarPlay, but he didn't really need CarPlay. And then your air conditioning works great here. I remember last year I did a section of this video. What a fun memory. He's like, my air conditioning isn't blowing cold. And I said, did you hit the AC button? And he was like, I thought I put it on blue. I thought putting it on blue would make it cold. So, you know, not everybody in my family is as car savvy as I am. Though, when I was 16, I ran myself over with my own car once, so I'm one to talk. That's a story for another time. Anyway, the four-wheel drive still works on here great, and you have a clock down here, and then cup holders. I think that's so cool. They pop out of there. And just too many cigarette outlets there, right? 1, 2, 3. Like, how? I guess Toyota kind of anticipated a lot of smokers were going to buy this truck or something, because there's just a little too many for normal comfort there. This truck also has cruise control, which I think is nice, and I mean, it has a sunglasses holder. That's something. But overall, it's held up great. This interior is really nice. It drives really well. It just sits great. And, you know, even still being, I gotta fix this steering wheel cover. This is messing with my ADHD. I don't even have ADHD, and it's given it to me. But regardless, it's held up really good. We put this right here is the sensor for remote start. It has a remote start that we put on, and that works fine too. And it's just really held up for my brother, which has been so encouraging that it works. And hopefully it will not have to have any other major issues for quite a long time. So let's take this thing for a spin. Does anyone else do this? And I imagine I'm not the only one. When you're watching an Instagram short and somebody's sitting in their vehicle, you're like, let me see if I can try and figure out what kind of car this is. And if it's a truck, it's super easy, because you're like, up, flat back window, maybe it has a sliding thing. You're like, okay, this is easy, definitely a truck. And then you go, all right, these seats are very late 90s, early 2000s-y. So now all I have to do is Google image search the roof headliner of all early 2000s pickup trucks, and I'll find out which one it is. Is that just me? Anyway, driving my brother's Tundra here, it handles great. I mean, it is a big, beefy 4.7 liter V8, and I mean, thus far, the engine has been reliable. It's not the engine that's given us any issues, which is good, because that's usually one of the most expensive repairs. And it's worked well. And even though there's been setbacks financially, you know, my brother, all in all, ended up paying, well, probably a little over 10, 11 something for this truck so far over the last 3 years of ownership. And that's probably what it would cost for this truck right now anyway. You know, if you were to buy this truck just off the lot somewhere, or even on Craigslist or somewhere, Facebook Marketplace. Do people still buy stuff off of Craigslist? I don't know. But if you were to buy it, you'd probably end up paying 10 or 11 for this truck right now with the way that the market stands. And so, yeah, that's about the price of the truck. He got it for a steal of a deal, and he paid all in all about 10 for it now. And thankfully, God has provided the money that he's been able to continue to afford it. And also, thankfully, not a lot of major issues apart from that gigantic, huge, really big major issue. But that all happened at once, and you'd rather it all happen at once than for it to happen at different times. Overall, the truck has held up about as well as most 23-year-old trucks could. Well, that's just about going to wrap up the 3-year update on my brother's truck. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Before I go, though, I'd like to mention that I am a Christian, and if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you. You can leave those in the comment section below. And lastly, I like to close out on a weekly scriptural reading. This week's is Matthew 6, verses 7 and 8. Jesus is the one speaking here, and he says, "And when you pray, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard for their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him." All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Take care.